Yo, what's up? Hey, Master Clee back with another video. Appreciate everybody in here. Appreciate everybody that has showed love. Let me get right into it, man. I got something that I want to say. I seen a clip the other day of my guy Dwight Howard, right? Dwight Howard, he was on Funny Marcos, I believe, and they was on there with another cat. And Dwight was being interviewed, and Dwight was like,
He'll never play basketball in the NBA with the way he thinking and talking.
another cat was like,
I know I'm not. But you missing the logic of it, Dwight Howard. You a great player. You can go out here and get 20 rebounds, 20 points. But you go to the free throw line, can't make a free throw, trash.
Dwight started getting defensive. And, you know, it was mostly jokes for the most part, but honestly, it had me thinking. It had me thinking a lot. Why do we resist change and remain complacent in life? That's a question that I really want to know. I did some research, right? And going back to Dwight was terrible at making free throws. I low-key think that's why he was in his feelings, but regardless of that. When did Dwight get to a certain point and accept that I'm just gonna be terrible at free throws? Same with Shaq. Shaq was the same thing. Shaq was so dominant and so terrible at free throws, his teams created a strategy to send him to the free throw line just to keep him out the paint, just to keep him from scoring. I'm young enough to remember Hack-a-Shaq, and I'm sure you guys are as well. Another great example would be Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons, #1 overall draft pick, didn't come into the league with a shot, right? Struggled shooting most of his career. When did he get to a certain point and accept that, like, I'm so terrible at shooting, I'm not going to shoot anymore, and y'all just gonna have to live with it? This is what I don't understand. How does somebody get paid millions and millions of dollars to be the best of the best and refuse to develop their weaknesses? Now, this does not just fall to pro athletes though. I'm not slandering no pro athletes. Like us regular people, us regular folk, how do we wake up with a balance of $86,400, which are really just seconds every day, and know the areas that we lack and yet remain complacent ourselves? So many times in life, there are things that we aren't good at and just haven't figured out. We may be terrible at following a budget. We may be procrastinating constantly. We may have not figured out how to make more money. We may haven't hit our fitness goals or are out of shape or unhealthy. But when do we get to a point that we think that our future is solidified and our future is concrete and cemented and think that we can't overcome our own weaknesses in our everyday lives? We love to criticize pro athletes. We love to say this person's terrible at this person's terrible at that. Where are you terrible at in your own life? What's your free throw? What's the one weakness that you've had for years and that you've just accepted? Now, you might not get paid like a pro athlete, right? You might not be making $1 million every game, whatever the case. But every day you wake up with something just as important, if not more important than the million, way more valuable. And that's 86,400 seconds. How many of those do you invest into your weakest areas of your life? All right, I'm done yapping. I'm done getting on y'all. I did research on this question. I wanted to know, why do we refuse to grow, right? And that's the title of this video, is the refusal of growth, the refusal of self-development. Why do we peak? Why do we peak in our own lives? Like we talk about, he peaked in high school, or she peaked in high school, she peaked in college, whatever the case, right? And I'm talking athletes-wise. Why do we accept our peak, right? Why did we peak in high school? Why did we peak after we had our first child? Why did we peak after we graduated? When did we become complacent? So I did some research. I did some research on the psychology of refusing to grow, all right? And so here's what I found. #1 reason is ego and identity protection. This came up in 64% of surveys. It's easier to protect our self-image than risk failing publicly. If I never try, I never fail. That's reason #1. #2, comfort zone addiction. Yeah, this is a big one. People are more comfortable with the familiar over the fulfilling. Our brains want to save energy. Growth costs energy your comfort zone does not want to spend. That's #2. And then #3, learned helplessness. Past failures have trained us to stop trying. One bad attempt becomes a life sentence in our own mind. So I was like, all right, well, let me put together a framework on how we can overcome becoming complacent, because I want to see everybody win. I want to see everybody grow, and I want to see everybody develop. Now, how high, how far? As far as you can. Myron Golden has a great synonym that's like, yo, nobody ever asks how healthy do you want to be and puts a plateau on how healthy you can be. Nobody raises an eye when they ask, How comfortable do you want to be? But anytime it comes down to how much money do I want to make? How far do I want to grow in my career? How spiritually aligned do I want to be? As spiritually aligned as I can, as much money as I can, as comfortable as like whatever the case, right? Why do we not care about our development? I want to develop as far as I can. I want to make as much money as I can. I want to grow as far in my career as I can. And let's normalize that. All right, let's get back into it. The number one way to overcome complacency is to identify your free throw, identify your weaknesses, understand where are the areas that you're lacking. Be honest. What's the one weakness that's costing you more that if you would change this one thing in your life, you could compound that into something and some other things, right? You could compound that into, $1 million life. Write it down and name that one thing. Name that thing that you've been avoiding. A lot of people know what it is. Maybe you're too lustful. Maybe you're drinking a little too much. Maybe you're overindulging in food. Maybe you're spending too much time on the game. Whatever the case is, identify your free throw. Identify that one weakness that if you were to change it, you could grow a lot. Number two, reframe the weakness. See it as a skill gap, not a permanent flaw. Let me give you an example, man. I know so many cats that after high school, I ask what they doing in life. They like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I'm not doing this. I'm not going to school. And I'm like, yo, why aren't you going to school? I'm not a school person. School's not for me. I'm terrible at math. I hate math. I hate science. I hate whatever. And it's like they start attaching themselves to this identity that like, I'm not good at school, or school's just not for me. I'm not a school person. And so what happens is they cling on to this identity that they're not this person. And so what they do is they completely reject any ideology that has to do with school. Well, understand that like, it doesn't matter what you do. You are always going to have to educate yourself. You are always going to have to be educated and learn and grow. That's school. Now, if you don't want to go to college, that's completely fine. But don't say that you're not a this person or you're not a that person, because what you're doing is you're putting a lid on your jar that doesn't have to exist. There are no truths in your reality other than what you accept is true. If you accept that you're not a school person, then you won't be a school person. If you accept that you're bad at math, then you're gonna be bad at math. Don't put a lid on your jar, okay? So reframe that weakness. It's just a skill gap. It's something that I'm learning to overcome. It's not a weakness, it's a skill gap. I'm bridging that gap by learning every single day. Okay, that's number two. Number three, create micro wins for yourself. Attack it in small, consistent reps, the same way a player would be practicing free throws. Measure your progress weekly and don't worry about everyday perfection. Imagine if you work on this weakness or this free throw or this skill gap every single day over the next 12 months. I guarantee it won't be a skill gap anymore. Where could your life be a year from now? I want you to pick one weakness this week. Pick one weakness that you've been avoiding, pick one weakness that you've been putting off, and just commit 15 minutes to it. Commit 15 minutes a day to it. Comment below what you're choosing so I can hold you accountable. I'm gonna check back in with y'all on the next one. All right, that's it, I'm out.